There are companies that are listed that receive transportation payments that don't exist.
They don't exist. They have no office. They have no assets.
So it's a scam. So here's to the people of Minnesota. Your governor, you better answer these questions. Ms. Robbins, are you here to tell me that the system in Minnesota is broken?
The system is absolutely broken.
I filed a criminal complaint against Governor Walz.
Leadership of Minnesota, your day is coming. You're telling me that there are companies that are listed that receive transportation payments that don't exist.
When I say they don't exist, all they are is registered with the state of Minnesota. They're a slip of paper. They don't exist. They have no office. They have no assets.
So it's a scam.
It's a total scam.
So here's to the people of Minnesota. Your governor, you better answer these questions. What can we do? We can get you here and hold you accountable for the programs you're running in Minnesota. Ms. Robbins, are you here to tell me that the system in Minnesota is broken and you're having a hard time getting people to help you?
Thank you. The system is absolutely broken. There are fraud on multiple levels. There are failures of internal controls, and finally,
you're telling
we have
me
help
your
from the
state
feds.
has not been responsive.
No, they have actively, I would say, harmed whistleblowers who tried to point it out, and they have tried to shut down investigations.
You said fake meals for fake kids.
Yes.
Would it help if you had to biometrically identify recipients of aid, that they'd have to be biometrically identified to prove they exist?
I think it certainly would help. I'm a privacy advocate, so I'd want to understand the details
Well,
of that.
number one, prove you exist.
Yes, prove you exist, like very basics.
That's not a privacy problem. If I'm going to give you money, is it too much to ask that you prove you exist?
No, that's why we need documentation.
Well, that's coming.
Not attestation.
We're going to fix this. It's coming. We're not going to sit on the sidelines and watch billions of dollars go to organizations that don't exist, rows of daycare facilities that don't provide daycare. It's in Minnesota. Bless you both trying to fix it. Is there any doubt, Mr. Hoke, to the extent of the problem that is billions in Minnesota?
Again, we don't know what the number is going to be. It's going to be, it could be 80 billion if you go back.
You just don't know.
We don't know, but to the point about politicians knowing, so I filed a criminal complaint against Governor Walz for violating the law for not reporting the fraud.
I think when you ask the Medicaid services in Minnesota, tell us who you give money to, that's not unreasonable. So what I would think this committee should do, quite frankly, is that we should ask for an accounting. When Minnesota wants to get reimbursed for SNAP benefits, are you familiar with the SNAP program?
Yes, sir.
Do you have to provide names who got the benefits, or they just give you a number?
My understanding is that there is a list, and the federal government is trying to get it from Minnesota.
Well, I'm telling you we can't.
Right. They're stonewalling.
That's right. They're stonewalling. Taxpayers, minority taxpayers, no matter what the color of your skin, you work hard for your money, and the people at the top in Minnesota are trying to perpetuate the fraud, in my view. You can say what you want to about Trump. That's not why we're here. Seems to me that we would want to make sure that a transportation company on paper actually exists. It seems to me that if we want to feed a kid, they actually exist. And you know what? They're not giving us the data to prove that they actually exist. So how in the world can we, as the federal government, allow this to continue? We are not. Ms. Robinson, are you begging us to help you?
Yes, and we're grateful for the help that's come recently from the Trump administration and from our partners here in these committees.
Mr. Hoke, are you begging this committee to help you?
Yes.
Message received. Mr. Weissman, I don't want to waste your time or mine. Bottom line is, we're going to find a way to help the taxpayer. I don't mind. I like feeding kids who are hungry and can't afford to get a meal unless they get one at school. I don't mind helping Medicaid people to get to where they want to go. I do mind when we're getting ripped off, and to the leadership of Minnesota, your day is coming. And if you think it's just Minnesota, Senator Cornyn, you're right, it's everywhere. And we're going to find it. That's the least we can do as managers of these programs. God bless you all.
Thank you. Senator Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for organizing this hearing. Thanks to each of you for being here. The United States of America is one of the most generous countries in the entire world. It also happens to be one of the most upwardly mobile countries in the entire world. It's somewhat unique in the sense that a person can be born into poverty here or arrive here as poverty, as a refugee or otherwise, and have the reasonable hope and expectation, if they work hard, one day they are likely to be able to retire comfortably, if not wealthy. This requires access not so much to government programs as to robust institutions of civil society and free markets, more than anything else, much as many would like to have us believe otherwise. Key to those institutions of civil society are these charitable activities to which I referred. Americans donate nearly $600 billion a year in charity every single year. This in addition to an estimated $1.8 trillion annually that federal and state governments spend on anti-poverty welfare programs, not including things like Medicare and Social Security that are about retirement rather than anti-poverty measures. Now, if you ask almost anyone, well, which of those programs, whether a government program, whether state or federal, or very often it's a state program administered by states with a lot of federal funding, sometimes it's one or the other, very often there's a mixture. If you ask them, what has a greater chance of achieving what I think should always be the ideal of any welfare system, the objective, which is to make poverty temporary rather than tolerable. I think 9 out of 10, perhaps 99 out of 100 individuals would say that it is privately funded welfare programs. Why? Well, because they're set up in such a way that they can be much more about the individual. They can be much more about identifying ways in which you can make poverty temporary rather than tolerable. In fact, one could argue that for these government programs, it's even too complimentary of many of the government programs to say that the objective is to make poverty tolerable rather than temporary. Very often the objective is to facilitate the very kind of waste, fraud, and abuse that we see here, that we're examining here today, in a relatively discrete part of the country involving the Somali community in one state, Minnesota. So, lest we delude ourselves into thinking that this is an aberration, lest we delude ourselves, alternatively, into thinking that, all we need are better, smarter managers, more efficient people who will suddenly identify and become enlightened as to best practices to make sure this doesn't happen. This is what this thing does. You don't put a hornet's nest in your child's bedroom and expect that it won't cause problems at some point. You don't release blank checks and allow those blank checks to be cashed at will by people who are not directly paying the bill because somebody else is. 350 million Americans are sharing in that burden, and expect there not to be fraud. Not just occasional fraud, but massive, earth-shaking kinds of fraud that cause people to lose faith in the system. Meanwhile, what is it getting us? Under these systems, particularly the federally funded state-administered programs, under what circumstances do we have evidence that this is making poverty temporary rather than tolerable? And in what circumstances do we have evidence that it's not facilitating fraud? So let's not kid ourselves. This is, if anything, the tip of the iceberg. It happened to manifest itself very well because of Nick Shirley and a few other brave journalists who stepped into the fray on this one and have taken a lot of heat as a result. But I suspect that this is the tip of the iceberg. Mr. Hope, in your view, did the Minnesota state government, either through incompetence or willful ignorance, reckless blindness or otherwise, did it enable the Somali fraud in Minnesota?
Yes.
How did it do that?
Complicity.
Complicity with what degree of awareness as to the level of fraud that was being undertaken?
100%.
100%.